Eddie? Yep.
Even most experts were surprised by the sharp jump in the number of Americans lacking health insurance last year. The latest census figures show that the number of uninsured jumped by 2.4 million, the largest increase in a decade, bringing the national total to 43.6 million uninsured in 2002, or 15.2% of the population. The ranks of the uninsured have increased by 10% over the past 2 years, with the likelihood that things may get worse this year. The lack of health insurance, a problem once confined mostly to the poor and nearly poor, has reached into the lower middle classes, most notably to those earning $25,000 to $49,999 a year, and even to some above $50,000. It is a problem that needs to be addressed by Congress and the administration, which have thus far sat mostly on the sidelines. Several factors are driving the expanding crisis. The number of unemployed Americans keeps growing in this jobless opportunity for employer-provided health insurance. Even many full-time workers, an astonishing 20 million last year, lack health coverage. Many employers, both large and small, are cutting back on the health insurance they provide, either by dropping it entirely or by making it harder for employees to qualify. Some are requiring much higher contributions from workers. So many workers are dropping coverage rather than paying amounts they consider unaffordable. Underlying the problem is the still unsolved issue of escalating health care costs, which have employers struggling to find a way out and individuals staggered by premium increases. The state and federal Medicare programs and children's assistance programs have picked up some of the burden by enrolling the poorest of the uninsured. But with virtually all states suffering budget crises and looking to Medicaid for cuts, that safety net is beginning to unravel. While the number of uninsured has been climbing, Congress has focused mainly on a different issue, the effort to prove prescription drug coverage for the elderly on Medicare. That would add a benefit for millions of Americans who already have basic health insurance, but would do nothing to help those currently going without. Earlier this year, President Bush proposed spending $89 billion in tax credits over 10 years to help Americans buy health insurance if they did not have employer-subsidized coverage or access to public programs. And Congress included $50 billion to address the problem. But neither the President nor Congress has shown any inclination to actually push those plans to fruition. Health care seems likely to become a significant issue in the presidential campaign and the next session of Congress. At least 6 candidates competing for the Democratic nomination have put forth health insurance plans of one size or another, and various members of Congress have introduced bills to chip away at the problem. The worsening crisis makes it clear that ways must be found to shore up the coverage provided by employers and to help low-wage workers pay their share of the ever higher premiums. The idea of censoring the Cuban dictator Fidel Castro, who regularly silences journalists and tortures dissenters in his own country, may sound appealing to some, but when it is done by an American newspaper, the effect is unsettling. That is what happened in New York, where El Diario, La Prensa, the oldest Spanish-language daily newspaper in the United States, killed a column it had sought from Mr. Castro. The paper's top editor, who had solicited the piece, resigned in protest, although he decided to stay on as a columnist. After the readers had been issued or teased for days with a promise that a Castro column would run this week, they were left to wonder what Mr. Castro had to say about the topic of his essay, education. The episode was baffling. El Diario, which began publishing in 1913, has built a reputation for publishing views all across the political spectrum, even when Cuba is concerned. It offers a regular forum to President Bush, whose Saturday radio addresses on a variety of topics are translated by the White House and printed on Sundays. This time, the paper seemed inadvertently caught in what has become a Miami Vice, in which vocal Castro opponents put the squeeze on anything deemed even remotely accommodating to the dictator. How's it?
Okay.